Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the special after show episode of the Arcade Repair Tips live show. And of course, this is for episode 37, March 2020. And Tim, it's been about 3 weeks since we had our live show, and obviously a lot of things have happened since then. And so I think that's what we're mainly going to be talking about. Now, I do want to remind everybody that this is an after show, and in the after show, we basically can talk about anything. So there's no questions that are off limits. We have the live chat here, so if you're in the live chat, you can say hi, or we also, if you want to send emails and things like that, you can as well. So, I mean, that's obviously a part of it too. So, I mean, feel free to contact us via the live chat during the episode. We do have some streaming issues, it seems like, going on, so there may be a little bit of I think, actually, I just saw that the stream status went excellent, Tim, so it looks like we're back in business there for a second.
I'm watching on my phone. It looks pretty good.
Good. So hopefully it'll stay that way throughout the show, but in case it doesn't, we are recording it and we'll upload it at a later time. But Tim, last time we had a show, my wife was sick, and I had to kind of shuffle kids and take care of some stuff. And you obviously had a lot on your plate too with Mr. Gaddy's and everything like that. So let's go ahead and get started with just what's been going on since we had that live show back at the beginning of March.
Well, I'm beginning to understand why when I open my door, my dog takes off running. Because after being quarantined here for a couple days, getting a little cabin fever. But, it's like when the time changed, I think we changed from Central Standard Time to Twilight Zone time. I don't know. It's been a crazy, crazy couple of weeks. I don't think anybody could have predicted it. But this is it. And it's kind of our new normal. Here we are broadcasting, several miles away, but it's been everybody that we know is affected by this somehow, and not just in the United States. We have listeners all over the world, so just want everybody to know how we're doing. We'll update what's been going on with us, but also just to stay connected with our viewers and people and check on people. Hope that everybody's doing okay out there.
Absolutely, Tim. We do hope that this video finds your family safe and well, and hopefully you're quarantined inside your house working from home, or if you're having to work, that you're taking the necessary precautions to keep yourself safe. So, and Tim just touched his face. You just touched your face, Tim.
Yeah.
I just got you. But we're all trying to do our best to keep each other healthy. Oh, there it is. Oh, there you go. So we're all trying to do our best to keep each other healthy and, stay away. I mean, now the nice thing here, Tim, is the sun just came out today. So, I mean, obviously that's a good thing. It seems like it's been cloudy here for like the last week or so. So I'm glad to see some sunshine finally. But Tim, obviously a lot's been going on in your life, and we had Mr. Gaddy's obviously having to close down, okay, like for, temporarily or whatever. So why don't you just give us the whole kind of rundown of what went down over these last 3 weeks? I mean, obviously, Mr. Gaddy's, for those people who may just be watching this for the first time, is a arcade and restaurant establishment. It does a pizza buffet. And so why don't you just give us the rundown from kind of, okay, obviously all pretty normal that first week of March, and then going through to the different precautions that you went to, and ultimately going to the closing down part.
Yeah, so, we entered spring break week. I think it was the 6th, or the 12th was the first day of spring break. And, we, in the arcade amusement industry business, the spring break week is always your biggest week of the year. So we had scheduled extra people, but, we've been hearing this, rumors, I guess, more than anything. Trump had already shut down airport or flights in from overseas, and we're kind of watching it, but we're still pretty optimistic that everything would just kind of go on as normal for spring break. The first couple days, we were pretty busy, typical, lots of kids, everybody. About the middle of the week, things begin to change, as we begin to hear reports of people getting sick, first warnings about maybe not going out as much. So about Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday were pretty busy. Typical spring break. Sales numbers were up. My employees were there. We had a lot of people there. Seemed like we were in for a big week. And then about Wednesday, kind of hit the brakes, and it was about half as busy as it normally would be. Then Thursday was probably about a third, and Friday maybe even less than that. So that's when, as buildings and businesses begin to self-quarantine, we started talking about what are we going to do if we're forced to close. And also, is it the right thing to do? Even though you don't want to shut down as a business, you also don't want your employees getting sick or somebody ruining your reputation forever by coming in and getting sick. So that's when I started to see birthday cancellations. A little bit of fear, I think, probably crept in, and anxiety. And then we had to start coming up with our contingency plan, and that was to go to strictly dine-in pizza, where, in other words, instead of a buffet, which, we get tested by the health department twice as much as everybody else. There's always some fear with the buffet. You really do have to stay on top of it. And so we started just doing orders to your table and to-go orders. What we found was we were getting some of those, and people were really good in trying to support us and all that, but it really wasn't enough to carry our full staff. So then we had to start cutting back hours. Then, just a few people on the clock. And even then, we weren't really making enough money. So right before the state decided to shut down all the restaurant from dine-ins, we made the decision to go ahead and close at least for a couple of weeks to see, if we couldn't help, what do they call it, with the curve, Jonathan, to try to flatten the curve a little bit and do our part. We felt that at some point it was more responsible to be good citizens and not just trying to make some extra money during that time. A lot of our local businesses had already closed down. I think had we had a drive-through window, we would probably still be open today, because Domino's is experiencing growth in sales. Sonic, I think, was built for this time, and every time I go by there or drove by there, they were packed. So we just made it come more down to partly a financial decision, because if you're not making enough to pay people on the clock, we didn't want to lay off everybody. But in the end, that was the result, was that it was part financial and part it just seemed like the right thing to do when the governor was asking people to stay in and to not be eating. We still had people that would come in and kind of congregate, and we were trying to separate people out. We had people sit at least 3 tables from each other. We didn't allow any kids to come to the buffet because, as you know, with kids, they're just not very good about keeping their hands from touching things and stuff like that. We tried a few things like that in the beginning, but ultimately we thought the best thing for our community was to go ahead and close until we're told by the government it's safe to reopen.
And I think that was the right choice. Now, Tim, I don't know if you mentioned this, but you guys did try carry out there for a little bit. How did the carry out go before you ended up closing down entirely?
Well, we do a little bit of, I would say maybe 5% of our business is carry out anyway, because we're not just an arcade. We're a pretty good pizza place, and people like our pizza. So we do some carry out business. That had picked up a little bit. You would have spurts like right at lunch, and then maybe right at dinner you'd have a few. But in between, there wasn't much at all. And like I said, financially, we were getting some income from that, but it was probably just barely enough to make our labor and probably not even the light bill for the day. Because a lot of people were going through, I think, like I said, if we'd have had a drive-through window where you didn't have to get out of your car. So we started curbside delivery, but we never done that before, and nobody was used to it. And so I think had we implemented that and been doing that for a while, I know there's several other restaurants that we use that we've done curbside before, but when you're not used to it, you don't know what number to call or how to do it or how to set it up or how to go online, we just weren't getting enough people to justify that.
Absolutely, I understand that. Now, if anybody's watching the live stream, I do want to make sure that Tim's audio is syncing up with his video. If not, we may be able to make some adjustments. It looks a little funky on my end, Tim, but that may just be, like I said, it may just be the way it looks. It may look fine to them. So if you're in the live chat and you want to chime in on just how everything looks, please do that. and let us know. But I mean, obviously, Tim, this is a real challenge for everybody. We know that a lot of people are going through things right now, and so it's difficult, but it's especially difficult, it seems like, on the service industries, like the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, and especially when your business, like Mr. Gaddy's, is so dependent on the entertainment aspect of that. And I think we've seen it hit Dave & Buster's and Chuck E. Cheese really hard as well because of that. And so, I mean, what do you think is kind of the next steps here as far as these businesses once they come back, as far as making a recovery? So, like, for Mr. Gaddy's, what do you think the best plan after they come back open, after all this is kind of, in the rearview mirror?
Well, I think it's up to somebody kind of posted a meme or something on Facebook that said, remember the businesses that supported your baseball team or were there when you did a spirit night or fundraiser. Kind of remember them. And I think that as long as everybody doesn't panic, will it hurt us financially in the short run? Yes. But once we're able to go back online, that we will be able to sustain this. And I think that if people will just get, remember this summer, and, when you have more income coming in and you can go out and eat or support your favorite restaurant, one thing I encourage my wife to do is we tried to, it's hard to not talk about toilet paper shortages and water shortages and things like that. Those are real things that you deal with. And by all means, we don't encourage anybody to hoard that kind of stuff. But as a family, you go through stuff. So we just were kind of doing our regular grocery shopping. And then when you can't find those items that you are starting to run out of, it gets a little scary. But at the same time, we know that those things will come back online if people just won't panic. They'll buy what they need, share with your neighbor whatever that you can do. I know, Jonathan, y'all have done some things that were really nice to help your neighbors and people. So, as we look at that, if everybody will just hold on, I've actually enjoyed the time off, just spending time with my kids. Last night, I think all four of us were at the table together for the first time, and I can't tell you how long. And so, when we do come back, if we don't panic, I know financially it's very hard on everybody, but, we've been promised some stimulus stuff coming. Maybe some cuts, interest rates are down, stuff like that. I think we'll pull back out of it. But, remember those restaurants that really helped you. One thing I was going to mention is I told my wife, if we're out or we can't buy some things at the grocery store, don't panic. We'll save the money we were going to spend at grocery store and we'll run through the drive-thru at Dairy Queen or something. We're not going to go inside, of course, but I trust most drive-thrus and the places that I ate, the people wash their hands. They're taking good care. They're handing me a brown bag or a plastic bag or a sack. And I think that as long as we don't panic, we can eat, we can support them during this time so they can stay open. But it's not like we have to have certain items, not yet anyway. So I hope that everybody out there is taking precautions, but then again, not going to the extreme either.
Sure, and I've got messages from Tim and John here in the live chat, Tim. They both say that everything on the tech side is good, so they hear you loud and clear, and everything that you're throwing down. So that's good. Thank you guys for being here and watching the live stream with us. Now, Tim, you do have kind of an announcement. I don't know if you want to save this for next week when we do a actual live show, or if you want to go ahead and reveal it here on the special after show. I'm going to leave that up to you. But if you would like to take that off ramp right now, I'll let you do it. If not, just say no thanks and we'll keep on trucking.
Well, we'll just make it short and quick, is that I was offered a different position with another company. So it really didn't have anything to do with this outbreak. I was kind of planning on leaving anyway, but it did propel it a little faster, being that I was technically laid off from my job. So today after tomorrow, I start a new job and a new career. Maybe we'll save all that announcement for, but I'm not going to be in the FEC or the Family Entertainment Center industry, at least for now. And I think a part of me will really miss that. But it was a good career move, and hopefully will profit me and my family and give me, till I get ready to retire. Hopefully it'll be one last job move before I head off and play video games for all the time.
There
You
you
know.
go. Sounds good. Well, Tim, I'll go ahead and share a little bit of my story because I think it may be a little unique. A lot of people may not know that my wife is in the healthcare industry. She's a nurse practitioner, so she sees patients like a physician's assistant would, what we would consider like a mid-level provider. And so, as you may know, if you watched the last live show, she was not feeling well when we did that live show. That was the first Thursday of this month. And she did not feel good for about 2 to 3 weeks and was running on and off fever and had a rash and all sorts of stuff. And then last Tuesday, she actually had some trouble breathing. And so her doctor ordered her to get a COVID-19 test. And as you guys know, getting these things is not easy, but since my wife is kind of exposed to this kind of stuff anytime she goes to work, I mean, obviously they felt like it was something for her to have. So she got tested last Tuesday. Well, we had to stay quarantined until that test came back, which meant that my wife went and stayed over at her mom's house, basically, which is currently vacant because she's trying to sell it. She has like an extra house that she's in the process of selling. And so she went over there. Me and the kids basically stayed in our house for a 3-day period until we got back the result of that test, which thankfully was negative. We were praying for that, but it was a very intense 3 days there. So basically it was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Friday mid-afternoon we got the actual result and it was negative. So we were very happy about that. Obviously it was a tense time. But it was very odd, though, for my wife to be sick that long. And they did say that she may have had a variant of the corona, but not the COVID-19 that everybody is talking about. And so she's back home with us now. She's feeling a lot better, thankfully. But a very tense time when we were waiting on that test to come back. And it's just, it's tough. And guys, I mean, just remember the doctors and the nurses and all the people out there that are taking care of the sick people during this time. I read on Twitter, Tim, that there was two doctors that were parents, and one of the husband was actually taking care of people who were coronavirus positive. And so they had decided to let him stay at basically their little mother-in-law suite. He was going to have to stay there while she kept the kids at the house because she did not want them exposed in case he got it and all that kind of stuff. And so there's a lot of families of healthcare workers, Tim, they're kind of separated during this time because they don't want to pass along that virus to the other family members. And so, just keep all those people in your thoughts and prayers at this time. It's a difficult time for everybody, I know, but especially for the healthcare workers and the healthcare industry. They're really having to clamp down and work, probably harder than a lot of them have ever done it before. And now they're facing this really kind of weird threat that we've never seen before. And so, just want to throw a lot of love out to them. But from our perspective, it was a pretty scary time. Now, the thing is they're actually closing down the clinic. Not closing it down, but they're only going to see sick people at my wife's clinic, and she's part-time, so I think she's going to get a little respite for a while. But we don't know that. If it gets busy, she'll have to go back to work. But just kind of recover and everything. But we're glad to be kind of past all that, and now we're here, like I said, kind of at home base, just hunkered down, and I got a little mini guy running around the floor here. So yeah, I don't know if you can see him. You can't see him on the live show cam, Tim. I don't know if you can see him on your camera, but
no, I can't.
But he came.
I think I caught maybe the top of his
Yeah,
head.
I was about to say, but he walked through and he's playing some of the arcade 1-ups, and so but yeah, like I said, we're glad to be kind of past that and everything, but it's been a tense 3 weeks, really has, since all that kind of went down. So I hope, like I said, I hope things are good for everybody who are watching this and everything. Oh, he just turned on one of the arcade 1-ups. You may be able to hear it now, but it was tough there for a little bit. But anyway, so kind of to better times, Tim, I would ask you how our investment money is doing, like we normally do. But it seems like it's a little on the terrible side at the moment, I'd imagine. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it dipped to its lowest number ever. Got down to about $4 a share, but it's up to about $6. So a little bit of recovery. Stocks in general have taken a real beating. But there's always, I always tell it every day, even on the worst stock market day, there's always money to be made. Right. So I have been fortunate. I've invested in some of the stocks that I thought would go up, like Walmart and Clorox bleach and things like that, that are actually have done well during this time. So while some businesses are closing, Walmart, our local grocery stores, a lot of people are getting bonuses because they're working so very hard. And it's interesting, John. All you and I both have our college degrees,
Right.
and we both work at a professional job and stuff. But what's really carrying the back of the nation right now are people that work everyday jobs.
Oh, yeah.
And so, shout out. I don't want anybody ever feel like their job is meaningless or nothing. And when I go to the grocery store, I'm telling them thank you. I see a guy stocking, I say thank you. Because if one thing that's shown us is that we really all do depend on each other. Right now, I can do without a lawyer, but I need that person at Dollar General that's unloading the truck right now.
Absolutely.
And so, although we do need lawyers at times too, so that's what I'm saying is that we all should be experiencing this need for. And Jonathan, you and I both go to church. How different has that been over the last couple of weeks? To watch your pastor on TV. Everybody's a TV evangelist.
Oh, I know.
And I never thought my pastor would be a TV evangelist, but and even him, I've been talking to him how tough it's been on him to make that decision as a man of faith, whether to shut down the church. My wife is a school teacher, about the schools getting shut down and how to Zoom in with first graders on a Zoom conference or something. It's been kind of challenging and fun. But, I think that we're going to see, when we come through this, I hope that we'll be stronger and closer, a little more connected. I know there's a lot of negative news out there, but I've seen a lot of good things too. I've seen people helping other people. I've seen people, I've been able to get a couple projects done. I'm running out of the excuse that I don't have time. So, I'm having to do a few more honeydews, and that's okay, stuff that needed done.
There you go. Well, I have Danny here in the live chat. He says, good seeing you guys. Hope you guys stay safe out there. Same to everybody who's watching this, Tim. And, it really, like I said, I mean, all the social distancing or physical distancing or whatever you want to call it, I hope it really seems like it's going to save a lot of lives. And that's what you have to remember when you're cooped up in your house and you're thinking to yourself, why am I cooped up in my house right now? You got to remember that there's a lot of people out there that hopefully we're saving by doing this, and that's the most important part. So do your part. Try to stay, in your house if you can. Tim, I go to the office every day, but there's literally only like 8 people in my office, and we all have offices. So, I'm never within 6 feet of anybody at any time at my job. So, I'm not real at risk where I'm at, but if you are in a more at-risk environment like a grocery store, make sure you're washing your hands constantly, and just making sure, be conscious of what you're touching. Make sure that you hand sanitizer, whatever you can do to not get this thing. So. But anyway, so Tim, before all of the craziness went down, we actually went to an XFL game. The XFL has since, of course, canceled the season, but it was nice to actually go to a sporting event. And we went for your birthday, of course, which was really great. And, why don't you go ahead and give the audience just some of your thoughts. I'll chime in with some of mine and just let them know, how was the Dallas Renegades XFL game?
Right. Well, just showing how things have changed. My birthday was on March the 2nd.
That's right.
So on March the 1st, we went, me and you and some more guys, we all went to Dallas, and it was really good, really different. We, just kind of took it in as just having a good time and being at a football game, but it really felt like a real football game, and we liked it. It was a close game, and even though we lost, we had a great time. So I was actually very impressed. It wasn't like I was watching some B team somewhere, or it kind of had a college game almost feel, but the crowd was into it, and I thought it was fun, and I was really looking forward. In fact, we kind of joked around a little bit talking about how much we'd like to go to another game this year.
Yeah, we were actually planning
the whole season.
Right, we were planning another trip at the time. Sorry to talk over you, but we were like, hey, let's go to another one, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, so, and I got to where I knew a few of the players by name, and, we were, it was just, we were having a great time. I was kind of looking forward to watching more on TV and stuff, and how the world has changed, to go right now for no sports to be on at all, and then all of a sudden no March Madness, no NBA playoffs, at least for now, no spring baseball training. I just never would have thought at this point in our lives that we would see something like that.
Agreed. They've never shut down like every major sport. And Tim, part of me is like, I think they still could have done it without the fans there. The only one I agree with was the NBA. And the reason why is because the NBA actually had players who tested positive. And so, like, if you have a player that tests positive, like, you absolutely have to shut it down. Like, I understand that. But, like, for baseball, they probably could have done these things without fans, but it's just being extra cautious, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with being extra cautious, especially now. And so, while I'm disappointed that baseball's not up and running because I'm a big baseball fan, I understand it's in the interest of the community as a whole, and that's important, so.
Well, it's just weird growing up our generation where Magic Johnson had HIV, and he still played. Sure. And we still went on. It was just, it's just times have changed a lot, though, and maybe not necessarily for the bad. I understand the precaution. I understand the people that get sick with this. I know a lot of them are older people and stuff, but when you see things coming out of Italy and stuff, I don't want anybody to get it. And I do, if me staying home keeps your grandma or somebody else that I may know or not even know from getting it, it's like they said, most sicknesses and disease, at least somebody is there holding your hand when you die. The people that die from this are dying alone, and nobody can go in there. A person I know had a funeral today, and they were well loved. They didn't die from the COVID-19, but because of the restrictions, only 8 people could come, and they said this is a person that 200 or 300 people probably would come to their funeral normally. So I just thought that was, to put things in perspective, how a funeral, 8 people were allowed there. There's in my immediate family, there's more than 8 people.
Right.
Well,
and I've heard that they've been live streaming them as well. So, I guess on Zoom and some of the other platforms, you can actually live stream a funeral. And, I guess that's what we have to do now, it's just part of it.
I guess. And part of me worries, John, is this our new normal? Like, is next year the first time somebody sneezes, are we all going to just shut down? I was at a grocery store, and the cashier in front of me was really upset and kind of crying. And I was like, what's wrong? And she said, well, the lady before you, I sneezed, and she started yelling at me.
Oh,
and she
goodness.
says, I'm really fighting this allergies. And you could tell her eyes were bloodshot. They were running. She was like, I'm having an allergy attack. I don't know what it is, but I always have them this time of year. She says, I don't want to go home. I need to make money for my family. But this lady really made me feel bad. And I thought, we don't need to go to the extreme on either end. We don't need to ignore the problem, but we also don't need to just, every time somebody sneezes or coughs, feel like that we, have to outcast them, not social distance, but just outcast. So getting used to that, back to the football game, it's just such a shame. Me and you love to go to sporting events. So I guess part of me is really hoping that we get through all this so we can go see a baseball game and be with a crowd of people. I guess in America, that's kind of our thing. If you go to a baseball game and nobody shows up, you say, man, the team must be bad. You go and it was full. You go home almost happy. Everybody showed up. It was a great game. It was loud and noisy. I hope that we get through this and we're not afraid again one time in the future to go out, near future, to go out in public.
I agree. And, the XFL game, it was pretty packed. How many people were there? 18, I think is what we said, 18,000. That's quite a few people. And, had a good time. Except for, what the 6 turnovers that Dallas had.
Yeah.
It was a fun football game. They were still in it till the end, and that was playing Houston, which ends up being the best team in the league. And Houston, I don't know if you saw, Tim, that PJ Walker, the big quarterback for Houston, ended up signing with the Panthers, and Teamu, who's the big quarterback for St. Louis, ended up signing with, I believe, Kansas City. So the XFL has already had some guys that have signed with the NFL, which is kind of interesting. So, but anyway, Danny says, just like Tim said, it's a good time to get projects done. So, Tim, what kind of projects have you been getting done? Maybe that's a good question for you.
Well, the one that's on my big to-do list that I've been promising is I got some shelves for Christmas. And so a little bit of garage reorganization. I got some bins and some shelves. That's actually probably tonight or in tomorrow's list is I need to organize my shop area a little bit more. So I'm not going to work on any games right now. I kind of need to organize. And then having said that I was leaving Gaddy's, I packed up a bunch of tools. A lot of them were mine, so I need to go through my tools. You've seen me before. You open up the bag and you need a Phillips head, and you're digging through all this stuff. So I really need to kind of get. That's my goal this week is to kind of get more organized out in my tool shop.
Understood. And the projects I did, I actually I've had at Christmas time, I got an arcade one-up Mortal Kombat cabinet, which you just heard. And Tim, unfortunately, it has a green line down the right side of the monitor, and I've troubleshot it, and now I found out it's a PCB problem. And so
Right.
I'm going to have to get a replacement PCB. The only problem is I contacted support and they say I'm outside of my 90-day warranty and that they don't want to replace it. And so I'm going to
Wow.
be fussing at them here for a couple of days and seeing if I can't get this replaced. Because I literally opened this thing like just this weekend, put it all together,
Right.
and it stopped working on me. And it's like, I understand like if I had it for 3 months all put together and then it developed a problem, that's a little bit different.
I get
But
it.
you know, it's like when you just open something out of the box, you put it together and it doesn't work out of the box, you wonder like, okay, what's going on here? So hopefully I can
Yeah.
secure another PCB for this thing. But I mean, you can still play it, and it plays good. But you know, it's kind of down on that. Now, Tim, something I did not tell you before we jumped on the air here on YouTube is that I did order another arcade one up because they had one on sale. I got the Golden Tee, and so it's going to be coming very soon.
Oh,
So
wow.
once we can social gather instead of social distance, you can come over and play it. So, but it should be here tomorrow. So I can get an arcade here in 3 days, but I can't get toilet paper here for like 3 months. I mean, it's just amazing to me how fast like the non-essential things are getting here right now. So.
Right. Well, you get it all put together. Go ahead and play it a lot and get tired of it, and I'll trade you some toilet paper for it.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds good. I am good on toilet paper. And Tim, you mentioned we put a little box out. We usually at Christmas time put a box out for delivery people saying, hey, here's some snacks and drinks and stuff. If you need anything, take something. Well, we did the same thing for this. We put out snacks and drinks, and I put some toilet paper out there. One of the FedEx guys yesterday took some. So I hope that
Oh, wow.
somewhere there's a FedEx guy who has a clean bum, and you know we'll be in good shape there. So but you know do something to help out the people that are around you if you can. Check on people. It's a great time to do that, especially older people. You know, if your parents are in kind of the high risk boat, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, or maybe I don't know who else you know that's in your life, but whoever's in your life, it may be a good idea to send them a text, send them a just try to call them. A lot of you guys are just sitting at home anyway. It's like, what else you got to do? So go ahead and check on some family members and things, and you know, make sure they're doing okay. So, let's see. Wasteland Warrior says too early for me. I think he may be talking about the podcast time or the live show time. Yeah, this is a little earlier than usual, guys. Where you know it was the best time for me and Tim, and since we had to kind of test out the tech, it's a good test for next week. You gotta remember we're doing a live show like next Thursday anyway. So I mean, come back next Thursday. We may recap all of this stuff. But now, Tim, I could talk about sports, but there are none going on. So it's
Gotta let the dog
oh,
out.
what now?
I gotta let the dog
Oh,
out.
go let the dog out. See, this is what happens when we're not together, right here. So, but anyway, you know, yeah, it's just, you know, obviously with sports kind of gone, I mean, we're all having to fill our time with like, you know, all of the zillion Netflix shows, and of course they released some of the theater movies and stuff kind of early. So let's
Right.
move into TV shows and movies real quick. But before I do, I saw the Rexer show says very nice Golden Tee. Speaking of that, thanks for helping me with the trackball issue. Still working with Hap on that mount. So Tim, I've been working with the Rexer show. He bought a one of the little trackball mounts and a trackball, but for some reason the trackball and the trackball mount, like the mount wouldn't fit. The lip wouldn't fit inside the mount. Does that make sense? So like the little outside part
Yeah.
that's around the ball did not sync up with the mount. And like typically, I don't
Okay.
think we've ever had that problem, have we?
No.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, most of the time
not
they
if
match
you
up
bought it all
perfectly, right?
together. Yeah, not if he bought it all together. It normally fits really
Right, I think
good.
he may have bought it separately, but even then, I mean, typically they should fit together. So he says he's working with Hap on that. Hopefully, a Hap can kind of guide him through some of that stuff and kind of help him through that. But yeah, I wanted the Golden Tee just because I mean, Tim, you and me play Golden Tee, and I mean, I could have bought a real Golden Tee for maybe $200 more, but I like the size of these guys and. It won't take up much space, and I'm going to enjoy playing it. It has multiple versions of Golden Tee. I don't have to hack together anything, so I'm happy. I'll be happy with it, I'm sure, when it comes. So, and like, I'll send it over to Tim's house, let him borrow it for a while too, and we'll just kind of wear it out anyway.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Tim. So let's get on to movies and TV shows. What have you been watching or doing over these last 3 weeks or 2 weeks at least that you've been quarantined?
Yeah, well, I told you about the show that I just started watching. Some of the people, it's kind of gotten real popular on Netflix, is the Tiger King
Right.
show. Because most you guys have probably, if you've watched enough, you've heard me talk about growing up in Pauls Valley, Oklahoma, which is the closest town to a little town called Wynnewood, Oklahoma. It's, I think, about 8 to 10 miles apart. And that is where this show is based out of, the Tiger King. If you've watched that, guys in the live chat will probably be laughing. It's just, the characters on the show. It's kind of like watching Duck Dynasty for the first time, how the characters make the show more than the content. These are quite some characters on this show, John. You'll have to watch it. I guess you have to be a little bit eccentric to want to collect tigers and lions and exotic animals anyway, but they definitely, you've got murder, mayhem, people getting fed to tigers,
So
multiple
I assume this
polygamous marriages.
I assume this is a scripted show, right?
Yeah, well, I think it was a documentary that the guy had a live, kind of like we're shooting a YouTube or a channel, and a reality team come in and are filming it, and then they kind of become part of the show. If you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. The show gets bigger than just what they're trying to film and help out with. They think this guy is pretty unique. He's actually ran for Oklahoma governor, got 19% of the votes. If you meet Joe Exotic, and you watch the first episode, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
He's just quite a character.
Okay. Well, it's on my list. I'll put it on my queue. Is there anything else? Now, Tim, I was looking up while you were talking there. I was looking up our outline. I don't have it up on the screen right now, but the things I had up here, I am not okay with this. And I saw this on Netflix, but I wasn't real familiar with it. So you want to give us the rundown of I'm not okay with this?
Well, it starts off with a girl. She's pretty average looking, and she's walking down the street, and she's covered in blood. And if you've seen the whole first season, probably 7, 8, 10 episodes or whatever, comes up to what happens. How did she get covered in blood? So basically, she figures out that she has basically superpowers where she can move stuff with her mind, but for the longest time, she can't know if it's really her doing it or she's just hoping things will happen. And so it's kind of a superhero sci-fi drama. It's a pretty good show, and it's pretty funny how she ends up with all that blood on her. Anyway, but definitely not something you want to watch with your little kids. But I think your teenagers and older would probably really enjoy it. And if you like superhero shows, you'll like it.
Sounds good. Now, Wasteland Warrior says, I thought arcade owners were weird, but Tiger owners are a whole new level of weird. And that's so yeah. There you go. And I'm sure that's going back to your to the first show that we were talking about there. So
yeah, it's very. As I said, it's just worth watching it just for if you just want to escape your the life and just my wife calls it watching mindless shows. So you just don't have to think about what's going on in the world. This is one of those shows that'll make you forget everything, just give you a good laugh, and then it's also pretty good. A lot of mystery involved and a lot of drama. So you have to check it out.
Now you've also been watching Love Is Blind, which was the reality show on Netflix, right?
Yeah, that was a experiment that they did. Nick Lachey and his wife, where they take a couple and they take a bunch of couples and they put them on what they call pods. And they don't let them see the other person, but they let them go in every day and talk to them. They call them dates, where you go in, you say, hey, my name is Tim, and hey, my name is Dawn. What do you do? What do you like about guys? And the object is to see who you can connect with without knowing anything what they look like. Fortunately for everybody on the show, all of them are pretty good-looking people. So in the end, they are allowed to pick a person if they ask them. It goes on, I think, for about a month. Then if they ask that person to marry them, they reveal who they are, and they give them a month. And I guess they pay for the wedding. You have 1 month for them to kind of really date on a realistic level, and you can get married in a month. So is love really blind? Can you fall in love with somebody without ever seeing what they look like or knowing? They don't even let them. I don't even think they let them describe themselves, like I'm tall or I'm short or whatever they want to say about each other. I think it's mostly like how they view life, or things. And some of them really feel like they do connect, and then when they see each other, and they're not bad-looking people, I think maybe a couple of them maybe find happiness. And these are all people who are at a stage in their life where they want to get married, and they're not wanting to date around anymore. They're wanting to settle down. So it's kind of an interesting show. It's kind of funny. And then the after show where it comes back and shows where are they now at the end, the last episode is really good.
Sounds good. Well, and all this is on Netflix, right? So, I mean, all three of these shows you can watch on Netflix, and I know a lot of people are probably wearing out their Netflix subscriptions right now. So, hey, get your money's worth out of that, $12.99 or whatever.
Netflix stock should be going up soon, I believe.
Right, exactly. So, now you did say that you rented one of the theatrical releases that just recently came out on demand, and that was The Invisible Man, correct?
Yes, we were actually really wanting to go to see that at the theaters, and about the time we decided that I would take a day off, last week I had a couple of days off, then all this was kind of craziness was going on. We didn't feel like getting around a bunch of people, and fortunately, if you have Amazon Prime, and I'm sure Hulu and probably some of the others, are letting you rent the latest movies that were at the theater a week ago.
Right.
Now, it was $19.99, which is a little steep. You can buy it, but it's not released yet. So for $19.99, what we did was we did have my sister-in-law and her fiance over. So there was 4 of us. We felt like it was kind of a movie night, and we watched it. And I was hopeful. I'm the kind of guy, John, you may be this way, that I should let my wife pick out every movie, because the one I really think is going to be good, and I pick out, it ends up. We went and saw Fantasy Island.
Right.
All right, and it was okay. It wasn't great, but
Now that was a show though that was remade as like a horror movie, right?
Right. It was a little trippy, but when you go, I've been going back too and watching the original episodes, and I forgot they could kind of get a little dark too, but it was always kind of a comedy theme to it. This was a little less comedy, although there was some comedy in it. It was PG-13, so it wasn't rated R scary. But, at the end, my wife's like, okay, for the record, you pick this movie out. Your wife ever tell you that?
Yes.
I was like, this is the one you picked out. This one, I think she was more interested in seeing, so I'm glad we watched it. I would say The Invisible Man was one of the best movies I have seen in a long time.
I've heard really good things about it. We did not rent that one. We have rented Emma, but we haven't watched it yet. And I also bought Onward, which is the Disney Pixar movie. The reason I bought them and I haven't watched them is because I just want to support the movie industry releasing theatrical releases at home. Like, I want them to keep doing this, because there's people like me who have kids who can't always get to movie theaters. I'm just saying. So it's like, give me an option to pay $20 to rent it, and I'll do it. It's like I don't have a problem with that. It's more than I would spend on a movie ticket at the theater, but if I get to watch it from home and something I want to watch, it's worth it for me. So.
Yeah, and we kind of made the whole movie experience, had popcorn and stuff. And when you boil down to it, we didn't spend any more than we normally would have, probably less. But at the same time, like you said, everybody's struggling. The way we can support each other in any way possible. I really hated to see, even a lot of restaurants at least can do takeout or curbside pickup, and just not working for the movies right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. They pretty much closed down at this point, so I mean, there's not a whole lot that we can do. I mean, because you got to remember, I mean, basically, movies are a social gathering, right? You're in a theater with a bunch of strangers that you
Right.
don't know, and so there's not a whole lot that they can do as far as I guess curbing that. They could try to seat you apart, but even then, you're probably all breathing the same air, so makes it difficult. Greg is going to one up you though on the arcade one up. He says he'll trade 3 Costco TPs for the arcade one up, Tim. So I think he may
Wow.
have outbid you there. I'm not for sure. So
I got a
oh,
visitor.
who you got? Oh, there you go.
This is Lennon.
Who's that?
That's Lennon.
Oh, okay.
Spoiled rotten dog.
Like I said, when you're here,
That's my
I have cats, but I don't have any dogs, so we don't have too many animal guests. So it's nice to have an animal guest on the show. So usually,
he
sometimes we
says,
have kids. My daughter will come in, but I'm gonna check the outline real quick here, Tim. So the other thing, I had the stuff that I watched. So speaking of Netflix, Tim, I'll throw another Netflix out there. I watched The Coldest Game. Are you familiar with The Coldest Game?
I haven't seen it yet, or even seen about
Okay,
it.
so Bill Paxton or not Bill Paxton, it's Bill Pullman. Bill Pullman plays this great, like, Grandmaster chess master, and in this movie, he actually he does basically they kidnap him. The CIA kidnaps him to replace another Grandmaster who the KGB killed, and this is during Cold War era, I guess you could say. And so they recruit Bill Pullman's character to basically play in this chess tournament and spy on the Russians. And it is super slow moving until the end, but the end was really good. So if you're looking for a movie that you just want to watch, you like the Cold War era type stuff. Obviously, Tim, 80s is big for us. So
Yeah.
it's slow moving at the get go. Ending was really good. So and if you like chess, you'll like it because obviously it has a lot to do with chess. So The Coldest Game on Netflix was one of the ones I watched. Now, Tim, I also have been watching Curb Your Enthusiasm on HBO, which I had heard good things about but had not watched, and it is hilarious. Golly, Larry David, that guy. Super funny. So if you're not watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, you should. And then the Millions documentary just wrapped up not too long ago about the McDonald's Monopoly game and the rigging of it and everything, Tim.
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
watch that at all?
No, I've been wanting to see that. I forgot the name of it. It's called
Millions.
Millions.
So if you're on HBO Go, you look up Millions, you'll find it. So, but Millions, I feel like the article, I read this extensive article on it that was probably better than the documentary, but the documentary does a good job of kind of narrowing down some of the like little, facts and things, and kind of making it more, I guess, digestible is a good way to say it. So Millions is good. It's not as good as probably the in-depth articles that I've read about the McDonald's Monopoly scam, but did finish it up. It was worth watching. So if you're interested in that, Millions was a good documentary. So let's see what else we have. Danny says, "How do you feel about small businesses? Right now, I work for a family-owned business that has been around for years. Kind of worries me." So Tim, this is kind of we'll get off the media for just a second, just to kind of do this. So Danny is obviously worried because he works for a small business and is kind of worried about, is it going to be around with all this going on? I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, even though I worked for a chain, it was a one-store franchise, so I'm very familiar with the small business. Really, that's what we were. We weren't part of a large. We were part of a large corporation, but independent in the franchisee. So right now, I think as long as it's within a couple weeks, with the with the tax breaks, and there's some loans and stuff that are available right now, and I think some stimulus coming for small businesses, I think we'll be okay. If this thing drags on for 2 or 3 months, then a lot of small businesses are the one. I'm even more concerned for small businesses than I am individuals personally, because some individual, it's funny. Most individuals may have a little bit of savings, but I don't care who you are. If you go without a work for a whole month, it doesn't take long and you're in trouble. Small businesses are really 1 or 2 weeks. Lots of them can't go a month. So I would highly encourage them to look into every government program. Our business owner was actually trying to refinance, and it may end up being a blessing to him because now the government lowered interest rate. So they may be able to do some restructuring and things, and people are a lot more sympathetic. I know there's been talk of if they own their building, like a missed mortgage payments or missed rent, and stuff, I would encourage them to apply for everything they can get. And I think that most people will be understanding. You know, a medical bill that we needed to make a last payment on, we actually called and I was going to make the payment over the phone, and the person said it was like $132, which is not a huge bill, but that's a pretty big monthly payment that we're finally glad to get off our record. She says, do you need an extra month or do you need a couple months? We're not going to penalize you right now. And I said, no, we're fine. Let's go ahead and pay it off. I'm glad to be done with it. But just to show you, I think that most people will be sympathetic to everyone at this time, as well we should. You know, the Bible talks about a story of a person that was forgiven a large debt, and then they went out and was choking somebody because they owed them a little bit of money. Don't be that person, you know. Be the person that I hope that if your small business gets forgiven some debt or student loan or whatever it is, that you turn around and are generous to other people, kind of the pass it on effect.
Agreed, Tim. And, you know, and like you mentioned about the loans. Now, you mentioned one earlier that specifically for the arcade industry, right? What was that?
Yeah, I sent you a link, and it was right as the show was about to start. So maybe we can share that on our page. Betson Imperial had sent me an email and said, look, if any businesses are hurting during this time, so Danny, I don't know if yours is in the arcade-related industry, but hopefully whatever industry your business is in, is that there's going to be similar things come down the pipe for people like that. And we've been made a lot of promises that I hope will be fulfilled. Part of me wants to fire every congressman on both parties and start all over next week, but at the same time, I do understand that people have different views on where the money should go and stuff. And hopefully they'll come up with a bipartisan bill here that will help everybody. By all means, check into it, encourage your owner. Sometimes owners aren't always aware of like WOTC tax credits and stuff. And if you don't know what I meant when I said WOTC and your owner has no clue, do some internet research. There's a lot of tax breaks for hiring military people with special needs and stuff that they may not even know about now. I think a lot of those programs are going to be even expanded in the next few months. By all means, if you can help in any way, you know, but our prayers are with you. It's scary for a small business. A big corporation, yeah, they get a little bit behind. Everybody knows they'll bounce back, no problems. It's a really tough time for the small business owner yet, but just encourage your friends and people when you do get to open back up to really, you know, maybe throw out some specials or you throw out, but all those people that have supported you, you know, there's going to be a time for us to go back out to eat, go back out to the movies, go back out to sports games. It's going to be a time that we need to do that to support those businesses who are down at this moment.
Absolutely, Tim. And like Tim mentioned, there's so many, there's going to be a lot of loans available to small business. Tim, one of the websites that I frequent is kiva.org, KIVA.org, and they're offering interest-free loans to certain small businesses. So, you know, you can always apply to the federal government, apply to Kiva, and get interest-free loans to keep you afloat until, you know, the business hopefully does come back. Like you said, fortunately, we don't really have a timetable for how long this is going to last, but at least some of these loans hopefully will help some of the smaller businesses float until the time that they can get back to actually doing business. But it's going to be hard going right now, but like you said, there's a lot of opportunities. There's a lot of things that are being done at the government level, hopefully, to help out some of the businesses during this time, because obviously this is unprecedented, Tim. We've never seen this before. So, you know, if you have an owner, if you have direct contact with them, you may just let them know about some of the things that are going on. So, Regzer Show says, Bill Paxton is dead, I believe. God rest his soul. Great actor. Yes, he is dead. I meant Bill Pullman. I said Bill Paxton. But, yeah, Bill Paxton, so many great roles, right? I always think of Twister, Tim. I think of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was the bad guy for, like, season 3, I think. Golly, so many good Bill Paxton movies. But Bill Pullman is in The Coldest Game. That's what I meant, Regzer Show. Sorry about that. Wasteland Warrior, All American on Netflix is a really good show, and season 2 just came out. I have heard about this show, Tim. Have not watched it. Have you seen All American?
No, I haven't seen it.
Okay, well, we'll put it on. I think we need to put it on our watch list. Because like I said, there's been a lot of people who have mentioned it to me. Wasteland Warrior wouldn't be the first one, so may have to put that on our list. Maybe we can watch a couple episodes before next Thursday, which will be the next live show. Greg says, tough for small business right now. A buddy just opened his arcade in January, was doing great, but now closed, but the bills still come. Now, Tim, there are people who are, like a lot of banks and things are giving respites on loans right now, so like 3 months or so. So you may contact your bank if you have a loan and see if you can get a basically, what they call it, whatever it is, basically a 3 months,
Deferred.
a what?
They do a deferred
Deferral.
loan.
Thank you. You can get a deferral, 3-month deferral on your bill. So, that way you won't have to worry about, paying them for 3 months at least. And so, Tim, I got statements from all the banks that I bank with, and pretty much all of them said, if you're in a hard time, contact us, let us know, and we can talk about deferment for you. So, I mean, obviously. And another piece of advice I'm going to give people while we're out here is that if you do own your home, you may want to think about refinancing right now because rates are just so low. I don't know if we're going to see rates this low for a while. My rate is low, and even I'm looking at refinancing. So, it's a good time.
Yeah, I was told if it drops more than a 1 point or a 1 point or more than what you're currently getting, you need to refinance. It's just gonna. So we're already looking at going down and cutting our years down and getting a better interest rate ourselves.
Sure. So a great time to do that if you can get a hold of them. Apparently it's hard to get a hold of people. I've tried to call the guy who was like begging me for months to refinance, and he's like covered up right now. So just to give you an idea. But anyway, Greg also said, let's see, if I had a if the bailout comes, might be okay. And yeah, the bailout's coming, I think, they're going to pass this, Tim. It looks like it's got bipartisan support. Republicans and Democrats both kind of agree. They don't always agree on all the details, but it does look like support is coming in some form or fashion. And so we will see that. And I think a lot of it's going to be focused on small businesses. And of course, they're talking about cutting checks to individuals as well. So if you're in a tough spot right now, maybe you lost your job in the restaurant industry or in the service industry, hopefully there's some bailout money coming your way as well. So, but okay, I think we're caught up on the live chat. Tim, is there anything else? I had a couple more. I think I had a couple more shows that I wanted to go over. Is there anything else that you can think of that you want to say though before we kind of cover those last couple? I'll look it up here.
No, we still have been watching the 90 Day Fiance. They have like what's called Happily Ever After, so we have been watching that too. That's a good show to watch with my wife. We both kind of enjoy it, but we've also been playing a game. I'm going to have to ask her what it's called, Cookie something, but it's basically a word scramble. And we've enjoyed just sitting on the couch and playing this game on our phone. And I thought that was kind of fun. It's a good time maybe to go in the game room with your kids or to get out a board game or whatever. We've kind of have enjoyed reconnecting like that. Another thing that was tough, John, Saturday was my wife's birthday. And we had all scheduled to go out and eat, and we couldn't because we were a group of more than 10. In fact, the restaurant we were going to did what we did and is closed down completely. But we ordered takeout, and we had a good family time at my in-laws' house. So
there you go.
You have to get creative during this time.
Absolutely. So, it just is what it is. I mean, obviously Deirdre wasn't here for her birthday, so after that, we got some takeout from one of the places that we really like, and I went and picked it up. They did a curbside delivery for me, and we got it, and just did our thing. Oh, there goes Tim. So, but we're all kind of adjusting, and my birthday's coming up. I think we're gonna have to do the same kind of thing. Is just kind of work through and do with what we have and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, all the restaurants aren't closed by the next time that happens. So, is Tim gonna join me back? I don't know. Is he here?
The dog was kind of acting sick. I'm throwing him out.
Oh, I don't blame you. There you go.
Like he was about to choke up something.
So
out he goes.
There you go. So we're still planning on doing the next live show for sure. And it will be next Thursday. And Tim, I think we're probably going to end up doing it like this. And this was more of a test, like I said, for that than anything. But we also wanted to go ahead and throw out some of the stuff that we've been dealing with and what you guys obviously are dealing with, kind of give all of our shared experiences with what's going on in the country right now. And even in other countries, Tim, obviously, we're not the United States is not the only one that's experiencing all this right now. So Italy, man, prayers for Italy for sure. It seems like they're one of the countries that have been hit the toughest by all this. So,
we have good friends. I was on a trip in Germany. The chancellor there is quarantined right now herself. Her doctor that had given her a shot recently has come down with it.
Wow.
So, a couple weeks ago it was like, and I think as this goes on, we'll all know somebody who either had it or was extremely, of course, affected by it. So I do think that it's just not something we can ignore. We have to talk about it. We have to deal with it.
Exactly. Tim, I will throw the couple other shows I watched. Now, Tim, I watched this documentary called The Institute, and the reason I watched it was because there's a show on AMC called, let me get this right, Dispatches from Elsewhere. Have you heard about this? So it's based on a true story about a guy who came up with this game, and it was basically like an immersive game. So what he did was he put like these strange little posters up that had the little tear off like phone numbers on them, and it said stuff like, gain the ability to sense the world around you or whatever. And so you tear off, you call the phone number, it'd tell you to meet at this address, and you go to that address, and then there'd be a secretary there who directed you to a room that you went in by yourself that's all kind of set up. You put a videotape in, and the videotape kind of tells you the story and sets you up along this path. And it was all like a big game that these people came up with, a very big immersive game. And so The Institute is a documentary about that game. It's on Vudu. If you have Vudu, I think it's also on a couple other streaming services. It's on Vudu for free. You don't have to pay anything to watch it. There's ads in it, but you can watch it there. But that's what the show that on AMC, like I said, Dispatches from Elsewhere, that's what it's about. It's about the people who played this game. And some people thought it was like real. They didn't realize it was just basically a game that these people came up with. And I tell you what an elaborate game. It is amazing. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't look anything up and just go watch The Institute on Vudu. Okay? And then I have not watched Dispatches from Elsewhere yet on AMC, but I'm looking forward to that. It's got a lot of different actors that I like in it, and so and they're showing new episodes right now on AMC. So going forward, but Dispatches from Elsewhere. I mean, if it's based on a documentary, I think I'm really going to like it. But like I said, it's basically an elaborate game these people came up with. And the people who are playing it didn't necessarily know if it was a religion or if it was a game or if it was a... They didn't know what they were really involved in. And some people, like sat in that room, watched this little video and just walked off and they were like, this is stupid, and just, moved on to other things. But some people like followed the breadcrumbs that they laid out before them and everything. And it's just really cool how the people planned, like how they moved around basically all these different game players and got them, like they would meet other game players and how they like planned for them to meet and things. Golly, so much planning went into this. It's amazing. So, but they ran out of funding at the end and just kind of had like a last little seminar at the end to kind of wrap it all up. But very interesting concept. Never seen anything like it. But again, if you get a chance to watch that documentary on Vudu, definitely do it. So, okay, I think I'm done, Tim. You got anything?
Yeah. No, just letting the dogs back in and out. They're like little kids. You remember when you were a kid and your parents said to make up your mind, either go in or go out?
I understand.
But it's been such a pretty day here. I don't blame them. I may go out and grill something here in a little bit. And
do you have meat? Me, that's a good question.
Yeah, well, we have, we're from Texas, so we have deer meat and all kinds of stuff in the fridge, thanks to my father-in-law, and we bought some. We always seem like we keep some meat around, so I always got something to grill or cook.
So okay, so you're stocked on toilet paper. You're stocked on paper towels. You're stocked on all the essentials, I assume. Flour? Do you have flour? Because you can't get flour anywhere.
No, I think so. Well, we have enough. We don't cook much with flour, but we do have some.
Hey, here's a little tip too for people who are interested. We do HelloFresh, and it came this week.
Yeah. You know what's funny is we can't find hardly frozen vegetables.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm glad that people hoarding are eating healthier, because there was a lot of snacks on the aisle. And then I'm like, well, if it's the end of the world, I'm eating junk. Right. So I'm probably gained about 5 pounds, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm wondering, we're supposed to go to the beach in July with my family, and I'm wondering if my beach body's going to be intact for that. Last year, man, I did so good. Like, I ate like a bird and worked out all the time, but I don't think I'm going to have the willpower to do that this year, just based on being cooped up and everything like that, so.
Well, I was planning on leaving town on Thursday. We're celebrating both our 50th birthdays. My wife and I are only 19 days apart. We saved up some money. Vegas was a choice. Never been to Vegas. Can't go to Vegas. We couldn't go to the Texas Pinball Festival.
That's right.
It got canceled. So that knocked that out. So we thought about going to Galveston. I thought if we get quarantined, we'll be at least quarantined on the beach, but that could get pretty expensive. So I don't guess we're going to get to go anywhere. We're just going to be here watching Netflix.
Hey, well, I mean, you got a nice staycation. I told Tim I picked up a green screen, so I can be anywhere technically. If I put myself behind that green screen, I'll just put a picture of, wherever you want to be, right? And so, so I can be anywhere now. But all this stuff, it makes you appreciate how much freedom we normally have in this country, where we can just kind of move about the way we want to and not have to worry about being told, not to. And so.
We also thought about taking a cruise.
Oh, well, there you go.
So I guess that's
if you would have bought a cruise beforehand, I had my boss at work literally the Friday before the quarantine went into effect about 3:00. He was supposed to board a cruise that Sunday, and they canceled it. He got 125% of his money back plus some extra vouchers. So he upgraded to a cruise in October and got a bigger room and all sorts of stuff. So if you would have cashed in on that, you may have been able to do something in October. So.
Well, there's still some pretty good deals going on, I bet you.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Obviously, travel deals. I've seen a lot of flight deals, but, I mean, who knows when those are going to start picking up again, right? So, I mean, even in July, we don't know if we're going to be flying in July. We may drive to the beach, just depending. So, but anyway, well, I think we're going to end it here, and we will be back next Thursday for the live show, so make sure you tune in then. What day is that? I don't even know what day it is. So, it's next Thursday, but let me see.
Like the 3rd or 4th?
It will be the 2nd, Tim. The day after April Fool's. So, usually we do something for April Fool's. I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to think of anything. If you think of a good April Fool's joke, let me know. We'll put something up on the site. But, obviously I'm still working, Tim. I'm still doing pretty much my normal schedule. But the weekends are pretty free for me because I don't have anywhere to go. But other than that, But hopefully we can all get back to normal very soon. Who knows? In a week and a half, a lot may change, Tim. By the time we see everybody in the live chat next time. You just never know. But we look forward to seeing you guys on April 2nd at our normal live show time. So hopefully you will join us then. Tim, I would get you to say this with me, but I have a feeling it'd be very awkwardly timed. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of sign us off here and say thank you for watching the Arcade Repair Tips live show. And remember, here at Arcade Repair Tips, when you fix the game, you play the game. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday for the Arcade Repair Tips live show. Bye-bye.